Hello, Rachel.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm good. You know, just appreciating the changes in our lives and,
Growing older,
Yeah.
wiser, but
Like,
things are different, but they're also the same, huh?
Yeah, we went last night to see Blade Runner 2049 at the IMAX in Melbourne, which is adjoined to Melbourne Museum and in front of, I think it's Carlton Gardens with the exhibition hall. And we were walking along and you were like, oh, what's up? And I'm like, oh, it's weird being back in this area because it was one of the first places that I visited in Melbourne when I came down for the first time as part of a school trip. And seeing the place and me being so different and it not being different really at all was an odd sensation to think about, like how much time has passed and that the place holds memories for me and so many other people, and that looks different for everybody and you don't see those things on the face of it. And it made me excited in a different way to come in here and talk about this book, because there are a lot of those themes and ideas that carry over.
This is an exciting time for us, Rachel, because we have now entered new territories, uncharted
The
for
final trilogy.
The Expanse. This is the part in which we are completely blind now. We don't have the TV show to go off of. We don't know what's happening. We don't
got
know
hints from the TV show.
It's different, though, isn't it? We are here to talk about the 7th book in The Expanse. We are first-time readers, first-time consumers of this. We went through the series, and now we are coming back around to the books, and we are now looking at the era.
Audiobooks.
Yes, we're listening through the audiobooks.
I enjoy noting that because audiobooks are still reading.
And they're a different experience, too.
Yes.
And the person who reads through the audiobook is very good.
A lot.
I think most of the fans enjoy, as do the creative team. He gets a ship named after him in the show. I'm pretty sure of that. But we have now entered the era in which we are just going to see how it plays out. We don't have a point of reference. We can't just go, remember how this was done?
Map.
We're off the map. This is the what could have been of the show. Could they have done this? How could they have done this? And now we can see and understand the fans' justifications for why it's perfectly fine that we ended at the 6th season with the 6th book.
Yes.
Because, spoiler alert, there's a time jump, everyone.
And I knew about it.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was hard to avoid that, but also the show did that too. Like, there was passage of time would change, and these books have been pretty consistent with like passage of time jumping forward with each installment of the book. Like, very rarely does it come across as like the next book picks up immediately after. It's always like months later, years later sometimes.
I feel like there's a bigger time jump between like
the trilogies,
book 3 and 4 and 6 and 7. I feel like they have a longer gap between them than between the books.
So how about we find out what this book is all about? Which one are we talking about today?
Persepolis Rising. And we are reading out the description from Goodreads.
Much to the dismay of one single patron. There's one patron who says, please read it from this other site. Please. Hey, you're lucky we're not doing Cliff Notes, okay? So take what you're given, all right? This is Goodreads' approach.
Yeah.
This is the IMDb of books.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, but it makes me sad because Amazon owns them, and
Oh, it also owned
Amazon's
the Expanse, so
yeah.
it seems right, doesn't it? Then
Mm. This one has a 4.38 out of 5 stars rating. It got a Goodreads Choice Award, but it was just a nominee for Reader's Favorite Science Fiction 2018.
wow, the show was in full swing by this point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the pull quote on the covers from George R. Martin.
They always are.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does it say?
In the thousand sun network of humanity's expansion, new colony worlds are struggling to find their way. Every new planet lives on a knife's edge between collapse and wonder, and the crew of the aging gunship Rocinante have their hands more than full keeping the fragile peace. In the vast space between Earth and Jupiter, the inner planets and the belt have formed a tentative and uncertain alliance, still haunted by a history of wars and prejudices. On the lost colony world of Laconia, a hidden enemy has a new vision for all humanity, and the power to enforce it. New technologies clash with old as the history of the human conflict returns to its ancient pattern of war and subjugation. But human nature is not the only enemy, and the forces being unleashed have their own price. A price that will change the shape of humanity and the Rocinante unexpectedly and forever.
It always does. It always does. Each one of these books will change the way of humanity and this Rocinante crew forever. When are we gonna just get a full book of them just getting to chill out? Huh?
Never.
Never. We can't do that. They're always got to be on the razor's edge. So, 7th book. There's a lot of things to go into this with. What were your expectations? Did you have any thoughts going into this, and how did you feel coming out?
I was expecting Laconia. I was expecting the time jump.
I was expecting the fucking dogs and the children.
Yes.
I know that it's a separate short story, but I was still expecting them to be at least somewhat built up in any way because the show did that.
I forgot that was a separate thing.
We'll have to read it. We'll have to read it.
Well, I wanted to do the novellas and the short fiction alongside the main books, and you said no.
I wanted to do them in the order that they came out in, relatively, or just mainline books, because it's
you wanted to do the mainline books first.
Mainline books.
I'm like, I get it, but
well, we'll see. We'll get there. So
I wanted to do the churn.
We'll get there. So you were saying you were expecting Laconian's time jump, the dogs, the children. You got some of those things.
I was expecting that part of it, not what we got of Laconia. And the mentality of them as a people. I wasn't expecting to understand them as a people as much as I do after this one book.
I'm glad we got it.
Yeah, and it makes it much more interesting, and it helps them fit into the world of the Expanse, because we've spent so much time building up an understanding of these different fractions of humanity, but very similar to like the Belter idea of the one ship.
I don't know really what I was thinking coming into this, because I knew there was going to be a time jump. I expected that the Laconians would be the big bads for the remainder of the series, because they were in the background for 2 books.
The natural escalation.
But what does that look like? What does that feel? What does that mean to me? I guess one of the things that I was surprised by was how many of the characters are still around after the time jump.
Yeah.
Specifically, Christian
And
is still alive at the moment, and I was a
they
bit
point
like
at
shocked by
that
that.
stuff too, of like, yeah, she's still here, and they're still here, and this is still the same.
But overall, I was hoping that it would be philosophical, because I like the Expanse when they get into the musings and the philosophy, and with where the universe was left at was ripe, because we have the status quo has been changed. We now have the station that's like in charge of all of these places you can travel to. Humanity's expanding out. It's becoming much more of a galactic empire in a way.
We have a new distinct power
Mm-hmm.
in the world of the Expanse. It's not just Earth and Mars
and the belt as a disparate thing. Yeah. And I was we do kind of, but not really. I was expecting more with like the ring entity creatures, more teasing, more stuff, because they were such a big deal in the last book of like, but still in the background, like they used them to help defeat Marco, but it was still like a thing being studied, but they're still kicking that can down the road for the time being.
I felt that more during listening to the book, because the entity appears on the Laconian ship and then they don't
know what to do with that.
Yeah, and it's just there.
And it has the ability to really fuck everyone over real good, but not the fullest ability yet.
Yes, and they don't understand how it works. But it's also like, oh, it makes sense that that's something that these authors are prepared to do, of setting something up and not dealing with it immediately, even though it would have the narrative satisfaction that would justify doing that. They play the long game.
As they should, especially since this is a new start of a new trilogy.
Yeah, and it also makes sense that they're willing to do that, because they are exploring the fact that we've been in this world so long, and we've seen these things change and not change, and the impact that that's had on our characters. We really feel the passage of time when it comes to the crew of the Rocinante in particular.
I also thought a moment that stood out in this way, it was a very small observation, but one that stood out in this way, was when we jump to the end of the book. And again, everyone, if you have not read this for yourself, we are going to fully get into the details of it all to our best ability. The Secretary of the UN, the Secretary General of the UN, is unfazed by the Laconians now taking over everything, because for him and for Earth, it means nothing, because it's just, we have already lost power, so what does this mean to us? And I thought that was just a nice little observation, because Drummer's seeing the horrors of how much everything is going to change, but then that reinforces, but not fully. This is just another example of how things are the same in many ways for different people too.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well, because the outer planets, the belt, the space in like beyond the rings, is now the new center of power, the center of the universe for humanity, right?
We're in the frontier era yet again.
Whereas Earth is now like the sticks, and you think about the historical perspective of cities would have more problems dealing with like having a new empire roll in and the changes of that, whereas
more impoverished areas,
like it's like, okay, you've raped and pillaged, you've moved your way through, you're gonna leave us alone now. We're reporting to somebody higher up than us. It's just a different person than it was before.
And it's funny because Earth used to be the top dog, and now we've seen them be kicked so far down, and they're still struggling to make their way through things. Overall, thoughts on the book? I loved it. I think this may be equal, or maybe a little bit less than how I feel about the third book. I thought this was great. I thought this was so entertaining. And the most shocking thing to me was it was the funniest thing that we've gotten from The Expanse, from the show and these books. I was laughing consistently throughout, and it was different characters, different types of jokes, different things.
What was your favorite laugh?
Oh boy. Well, I do love Sing. Everything with him is so funny, but I loved him in two moments in particular. One moment being trying to...
I'm in the toilet!
Yeah, well, yes. Him at the height of everything going on in the toilet, trying to convince
history books are gonna say that I was in the toilet.
Trying to convince himself he still has it all under control.
Yeah.
But the other one was him trying to impress Holden. Trying to impress Holden with, like, we are Laconians, we're so strong, and Holden just being like, I don't give a fuck. And then him saying, you know, I'm the same age as you were when you quit the Navy. He's like, yeah, well, I was a fucking dumbass when I was that age. And then Sing just, ooh, that and...
Sing is so fun because he is so childish in his power. It feels like he's playing governor.
Oh, he is so out of his element, and he makes every wrong choice, and you know it, and he knows it, and there's just nothing to be done.
It anyway.
This person I chewed out earlier, this belter that I absolutely degraded in front of his peers, is coming at me with a whole group of them. I'm sure he's just here to say some nice words. Oh, what? They're trying to assassinate me? What? Who could have seen that coming? But to go outside of him, a funny moment that I found to be great was Clarissa Mao. They're all talking about, like, all this crazy stuff that's been going on in their lives, and then Clarissa is, like, drawing like little spiral graph things with chips and sauce, and it's just like that's an observation that they make, and she just like raises her head and gives like a whole speech about like how men just want everything, and I just found that like a funny detail of just the contrast. She's now become like the angsty teen in their group, and I love that. I love that for this woman. It's just so good. This was just a very fun book. It was very fun and funny.
Yes, which you appreciate the levity because the Laconians come in and just decimate the status quo, and you're left being like, what the fuck is gonna happen now? So those moments of levity and give a good balance to the book.
There's also something implemented to every character except for two, which is everyone gets humiliated at some point. That's like where the humor derives from, as well as like this sense. Bobby gets stuck in 0G when she's on the shitter. That's a moment that happened, and that's like a funny thing. And then later on, she's going to be a badass. But don't forget, at the start of the book, she got caught with her pants down, literally. Like, that's something that's humiliating. And the only two that don't get it fully is Duarte and Holden, which makes their dynamic at the end fascinating to deal with, because Holden, with everything that goes on with him, he has his head held high, and he doesn't really he doesn't feel humiliated by any of it. And like what happens with him is very much, well, it just didn't work out in my favor this time, rather than what everyone else goes through in the book, which is like varying levels of being humbled or taken down a peg or humiliated outright. And it's just such an interesting thing to think about, how like that's a thing that everyone goes through in this book. And it goes into like that passage of time you were talking about, because like the crew is older now, and like so many details early in the book, it's like very depressing. Actually, like when I say this is a funny book, the first chunk of it's kind of sad because it's getting super detailed about how old everyone is.
Yes, and how this life has taken a toll on all of them. That is just a fact. and it takes the time to appreciate how that fact applies to all of them in these different ways. But I think I love the way that they do it with Bobby the most. I love
because she's all about her physical,
yes,
like physicality and like her body and being a human weapon, basically.
Yeah, and the way that she feels when she reconnects with that, but also how she's like, it feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as it used to.
I actually like old Holden quite a lot. This is like my ideal version of the character. I did like how he notes that he's still very horny, which is great. Like, thank you for letting us know that. But also, he is aware of how.
Shower with Naomi was such a good moment.
But he's come to this point now where he knows how much of a dickhead he's been over the years, and there's a lot of, since Holden is sidelined in the book, like that's something to note down too, is he is not the main character of this book. He's not the primary focus of this book. He is very much in the back. You get people looking at what he's done over the years as captain, as savior of humanity. And
he was here, he was here, he was here.
But there's a lot of recognition of his shortcomings, the things that he didn't even think to do, let alone the things he has done. And I thought that interrogation of the character made him quite interesting, because these are things we've talked about. It's the things that he doesn't do as well as the things he does do. Like, we can easily get annoyed, like, oh, Holden does a dickhead, annoying, frustrating, paladin thing. But also, there's so many times where, hey, Holden, shouldn't you be aware of this, or shouldn't you be doing that? And he just isn't, and it makes him feel like a dummy. And this book is all about, like, yeah, he's a fucking dummy because he doesn't do certain things.
It makes sense that they also see those things in hindsight.
The crew of the Rocinante's age and how much life has changed in these 30 years is very well encapsulated at the beginning of the book. It can be a bit upsetting and harrowing, but also there's a lot of heart to be had. Alex has been married and divorced and has a kid. That's something that's happened in between. And it's just amusing that he hasn't changed, even though all of those things have happened. Like, Alex is still the same as we saw him last time, but those things have happened, but he's still
But
just
that's
Alex.
Also a part of why those things failed, is because he is still the same person. He gave it another shot, and he couldn't crack it.
We have your boy Amos. He's older too. How old is he? He was like in his late 40s when we first started the books, and then there's been like a 10-year time jump since then.
Yep.
And now there's been 30. So is he like in his 80s?
He's old.
He's so old, right? Am I incorrect? And like, I think he must be like that, but they just describe, oh, the most he's changed is he's got a bit thinner. He's still Amos, but he's got a bit thinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, still trying to figure out what emotions are after all this time, Rachel.
Yes.
I mean, you're the Amos fan. How did you feel about getting new Amos material as well as old Amos?
I wasn't as fascinated with it as I thought that I would be, because I was just sad for him, because a large chunk of his plot, this book, is knowing that his companion is going to die and struggling with not wanting something for her.
Yeah.
And
he's never
not being able to give that to her, and him being unable to cope with that. And it does lead to a magnificent showdown between him and Bobby.
Because that's how it manifests, is him and Bobby lock horns for most of this book. Because Bobby's stepping up as the captain now. I liked that. I think this is probably my favorite, use of him in these books. I liked that his aggression actually is coming from somewhere that isn't the usual things we have seen from him before, and that it is heartbreaking. It goes back to his character and goes back to how he does have attachments, he does have emotions, he does care as much as he thinks otherwise or he feels like he lacks. And the heartbreak of older Amos is like he's gone through his life not wanting anything.
Not wanting to want anything.
And then here he is now faced, and it's like the first time I've actually wanted something and I can't have it. They won't let me have it. And it's just for Peaches to be able to die on the Rocinante. That's all he wants. And he can't get it. And then you got Peaches, of course, and that's a thing too of she's dying. She's been dying since the last book, and now it's just ramped up, and of course over time, and she's small and frail, but she's still Peaches. Like she's still like going about things like she's
frail but not fragile in a very specific kind of way.
Yes, she's fragile, but she's not fragile, as Death Stranding would say. Yeah, I liked older Peaches as well. I thought Claire. Claire. I liked her a lot. She's reached this level of comfort with who she is, what she was. Like at the beginning of all this, she became a monster and she was out there to do revenge, and now she's facing down the barrel of her own mortality.
Final line
about being afraid. And not being afraid, and just like, hey, it makes sense to me, you know? So that's what it matters the most. And then, yeah, Holden and Naomi. What do you feel about them two overall as like characters, and seeing them now in their older years? Because their big thing is they want to retire. They want to give up this life of being the protagonists of these books.
It's like they do and they don't. Like, they don't want to give up being on the Rocinante, but they don't want to find themselves at the center of something again. And they don't get out in time.
No.
Just like, if they'd had that conversation like a week earlier, everything would be different. And they acknowledge that in the book as well, of just like, particularly Holden being like, I wish we did this earlier. Like, I wish that we got out, and I got out.
I one thing that really works about them as a couple is we feel the lived-in history, even if you aren't thinking about the previous books. This is very much a strength of the writers when it comes to relationships, and we said this about the show, they are very good at communicating across lived-in relationships, previously existing relationships, than they are at building up relationships and maintaining them per se. They are really great at that. Like with Christian and her husband and her family, like, we don't need to know more than what we're told about. Drummer and her husband. Yeah, they're really great at writing this. And it applies to Naomi and Holden, even though we have had 6 books of them, because Naomi on her own is very heartbreaking. Like, you feel the loss of Holden because they've been together for decades at this point. They've gone through wars together. They've gone through so much together, and they've been separated before, but it was on short-term bases. And now this is like the realization of this could be forever. It could be that she never sees Holden again. And what does Naomi look like? Because Naomi in previous books has been very mysterious, very guarded. Her emotions have been very esoteric, especially for Holden.
We know what it means when she does stuff with her hair, though.
Yeah, but even then, that's her hiding her true feelings. She uses stroking her hair and playing with her hair to deflect. Like, we know that. But this book, since Holden is taken away, she no longer can hide all of these things from herself or from us, the reader.
And it's interesting the way that makes her step up in a different way in this book. And seeing her in a different capacity, in a different light, now that she's not working with Holden. She often would play Holden to her advantage. They would work as a team, but she was the one that was pulling his strings and letting him know what was the right thing to do.
Being his angel on the shoulder at times and challenging him, fighting against him as well.
Yeah, but giving him the directions and the input that he needed. And seeing her without that balance is more interesting at this point, because we've seen Holden without Naomi and the way that he lacks. But seeing Naomi without Holden and seeing how she doesn't. Like, not in the same way. Like, we see her advantages. It's the emotional loss, not the impact on her decisions.
Well, there is some, because she gets challenged about it at one point where it's like, we need you to go with Clarissa to do this thing. And she's very adamant, like, no, I'm going to deal with this thing because it will she thinks it will save Holden. And she knows
and
deep in her core.
I want to be the one to save him.
And she knows in her core that the other person's judgment is correct, and she does eventually concede the point. But I like that.
But that's after she realizes that Holden isn't there.
Yeah, but even then, she still had this part of her that's like, but I'm going to still fight to get him. But like, these are the things about the
fight changes.
Yeah, the fight changes. And this story and the setting is very much about how people are coming together, and then a force comes in to tear everything down. The Rocinante crew is a great microcosm of it, an example of it, because we have a crew of people from different walks of life, different civilizations, different backgrounds. We have people from Earth, we have Belters, we have Martians, we have rich people, poor people, military people, civilians on that ship. And then you look at the rest of the solar system, and that's very much like the relationship of here's the melting pot. People are working together, but it's still not perfect. The union isn't the be-all and end-all. It doesn't solve everything. Because politics are politics, factions are factions, divisions are divisions, but they are kind of coalescing in this way of harmony that we see with the Rocinante crew as a microcosm, as a minute example. And then a ghost, a specter of the past comes in and says, that's over now. It's time to shape things in this more direct, hostile, invasive way. But I liked how this book in particular, how they wrote the delicate balance of alliances and factions and politics, both working in harmony and fighting against each other. It isn't just as simple as, well, the Union's good. No, the Union does some nasty stuff, and Holden disagrees with it, but then also they're very valuable.
A huge part of them going into retirement is, no, can't do this anymore, won't support this decision of the Union, even though you understand why the decision is the decision that they're making and how it's going to impact short-term, long-term. And then you see that sort of continued exploration of the spiral of consequences, with the Union continued in Sing.
I also guffawed early on when Holden is thinking, we're not going to work for the Union anymore. And he lists all the reasons that, did you know the Union's like this? It's like, dude, you helped form it in part. You've been working with them. What do you mean? And I just also a part of it is, Holden's disbelief that the Union is also like real life unions in many ways, and he's just like, what? And he's just like guffaw, like, what? He's just so naive.
And
He's just such a
it's
dumbass.
almost impressive that he's still that naive after fucking everything and being an old fucking man.
Now, we had a lot of problems with the Laconians in the show. We had a lot of problems with them.
They were out of place in the show.
Like, just even to boil it down to, like, Marco Inares was taken down in part because the Laconians in the last minute didn't give him aid. And it didn't feel very satisfying in the series that these non-characters, because Duarte wasn't really a character in the show, helped to take down this guy we've spent 3 seasons dealing with. But in the books, it's a different thing. And they've been slowly built up towards, and they've been characterized. Like, you said you were surprised by how much we got to understand what the Laconians are about in this. And the big drama of this book is the Laconians come back and take over, and they are going to keep expanding out and keep making everyone a part of the Laconian Empire.
Humanity will be Laconia.
And I love the Laconians. I think they may be one of my favorite factions in the Expanse. I think they are truly reprehensible.
Unhinged?
Unhinged would say something like,
yeah,
in itself, but like you understand like their twisted logic and the way they go about it, but you can also clearly see how flawed it is. And I just liked spending time with Laconian characters. I like hearing more about their mentality.
You are in them and outside of them. It's a real advantage of the POV structure of these books because you get to see things from their shoes, their perspective, multiple ways.
And like with so many philosophical stances that then become a system of governing, you can see how the application of, on paper, this makes sense, but then in actuality, it can be very dangerous and perverted and can turn into something sinister because the Empire comes in and they have a plan. They're following the code of conduct. They're following Duarte's vision. They're following the manifesto. And then when they actually have to apply it outside of their controlled environment, they aren't prepared. They are prepared and they aren't prepared. And that there is something that rings true.
They are prepared, but they aren't prepared to understand.
And how much of when they put it into physical practice, does it then start to stray away from what they claim to be their ideology and what they claim to be their motives? Because, you know, bringing it back to, like I said, manifesto, like you think of communism, for example, which this is very much playing on. The Martians in general have played on a lot of like communist ideals, and the Laconians are just an extreme outcome of the Martians, as they bring up several times. It's that idea of like, well, you know, communism started out with like these certain principles and ideas, and then when stuff started to go and you have to like actually implement it and you have to use force, and then you have people who want power and who believe in this certain idea of it and this certain idea, and you can apply that to like many different political ideologies that then take root in a tyrannical governing system over time. And that's what makes this just deeply relatable is we know what that looks like. We understand what that feels like.
The universality underneath, because it has the sci-fi coating on it, and it does that in an interesting way, and it adds depth. But underneath is this truth of what power looks like, and the struggle to maintain power, which was something that the Goodreads description really highlighted.
And it kind of goes back to Murtry in the 4th book, like his outlook on things and how Holden and so many people, whether they the Belters or even Martians and all of this, we've gone through this cycle already. We know that it doesn't work, but the Laconians think that they've cracked it. They think that they know the best
If we
way
just
of going about
do it this way, it will work.
Hey, we never fired the first shot. We just made it in a way where you would inevitably have to fire the first shot, so then we could take you down. But we are claiming that we're doing it in a pacifistic way, so you are the problem. Like, they stack the deck in such a way where it's always going to be the other person will have to rebel, and then the Laconians use their might makes right approach, but then can justify it to themselves that it isn't that because they didn't do it first. We're not monsters.
Mm-hmm.
You
and it
are the
makes
monster.
sense that somebody who was a military tactician and fascinated by history would come up with this approach.
There's so many parallels you could do. There's a lot of imperialist
It's like take a little bit from this and a little bit from there, and we're going to do that thing, but that didn't work out in that way, so we're going to twist it this way.
And so when they come in and start taking over, there's no fight initially because we can't outdo them. They're superior to us in this way, but the rebellion will start because we are so accustomed to takeovers, to hostility like this. But in the end, our heroes have often overcome this, and that's also something about this book is they lose. Our heroes lose. Drummer will eventually do this big strike against their big Laconian ship. Doesn't work.
And
Our crew will infiltrate and do this and do that. Doesn't do much. Doesn't stop it. It only minimizes the damage slightly, but it's still...
But it also loses them Holden.
And it also loses them Clarissa. Like, it loses them people over the course of this. But, like, the Laconians, they're entertaining because they don't see at any point, and this is what makes Singh such a great point of view for them for the course of the book, but also Duarte is their head guy. They believe that they have a purity, and they are the most, like, apex of humanity, but they are going about things in the ways that we've seen time and time and time and time again. But they believe that they're different. It's the irony of it all, of like, well, obviously we'll have to commit genocide, but that's just for the benefit of us all. And it's like, they don't see, like, this is a thing that's happened before. Like, they just don't get it. Like, Duarte, he says at the beginning, I don't believe in the great man theory. I think that's all bullshit. I think that's reductive.
But I'm a great man.
But if there has to be a great man who lives up to that theory, it's me. Like, that's the beginning of the book, is like we get Cortazar, and he's working on helping Duarte become immortal because Duarte thinks I'm the only one who can guide us.
Because empires fall apart when their emperor dies. So if I never die, then the empire won't fall apart.
But that there even further highlights at the very core how fundamentally fragile the Laconian stance is. That it needs that one person to make it work. Because if Duarte's gone, then the whole ideology doesn't mean anything. And you see that reinforced by Singh and by all these admirals and even Overstreet of like,
now that they feel like they're out of his grasp, they're losing their connection. They're losing their strength.
And their purity and their vision. And so they think they know what it is, and then we see it spiral way out of control. Villains are always present in these books, and on the occasion we get them as POV characters, but often not. Often they're people that our heroes are
They're very
interacting
rarely
with.
established as a POV.
We had like Clarissa, Marco.
You'll have one or two, and it'll be later.
But Singh, he is the representative sent from Laconia to now become the governor of Medina.
Before we get into him,
Oh, yes.
I want to dive into the fact that he calls his daughter Monster.
Please do. He's a family man.
He's a family man.
He's like the guy from Dexter. He's a family man.
I fucking loved this choice so much as like basically a literary ploy. Because
it's also a ploy he uses on himself.
Yes. But the way that it plays with your emotions and your expectations, because he sees himself as a family man. But there is also something deeply unsettling and deeply endearing that he calls his daughter Monster. And the fact that as he sees himself as more of a monster, the more he calls her Elsa and not Monster.
That's very good. That's a very good observation. So, Singh is this man, a family man, by the books. He knows everything about the Laconian way of life. He's studied the principles of it. He's studied the essays, the thesis.
There.
It's all is known. And he will do anything that is lined up with Laconia's way of life.
That's why he gets picked. He gets handpicked.
He handed over his own mentor for slightly deviating from the rules. And so you're the perfect candidate because on paper, you know what you're doing. He has no actual experience.
No, and
because none of them
I liked
do.
how they addressed that of like, well, yeah, you were picked so that we could guide you into being the governor that we needed. Because the old guard, there's not enough of us to do everything. So we've got to start holding space for
the younger generation
to come up. And the way that he fucks it up is the way that he was expected to fuck it up.
Because they knew that that would be an outcome that could happen.
It was a risk.
The Laconians are so new. But they think that their strength will overcome these obstacles.
Because they've learnt from history.
I've read books. I've read the thesis from university that Duarte wrote, and I get it even more than he does, which is something Singh says.
Oh, that was so good.
But they're people who have no lived-in experience of this way of life.
They don't understand
after a certain generation.
Reality.
Yeah, they've been left
Cushioned.
in their isolation. They're isolationists, so they don't know how the rest of society works. That's actually like highlighted about how they have the outdated names for stations. Like, hey, it hasn't been called that in like 20 years, but they this is the intel they know because the previous generation knew that. Duarte's generation knew that. So that's all they know. They know what they've been told. As Overstreet says at the end, he doesn't believe he believes in what he's told to believe, and he doesn't actually believe anything. And Singh, he was kind of that way too, but that's what makes him a fun character of he believes what he's told to believe. And then he's thrown out of that bubble, out of the cradle, now he's on his own, and he's in charge, and he doesn't know what to do with that. He actually doesn't know anything, and this is the epitome of a villain that is the banality of evil. Something that's actually very hard to pull off.
And for it to continue to be interesting and not just, oh, he just does that because he does that. Like, for us to be continually invested in the dumb shittery that Singh does is a high praise of this book to me.
I think because if you compare and contrast him to other characters in similar positions or ones that are thinking that they're doing the right thing but it's actually bad, a lot of the time they're like evil people, or like not, maybe that's not the right word, like they're arrogant, or they're angry people. Like Marco was like a narcissist. You had Ashford, who was just like a crazy guy. Yeah. You had Murtry, who was also like, he was wanting to hurt people all along, and he just found a justification for it. But what makes Singh so much more interesting. What makes Sing interesting to read through, and for him to be the banality of evil, is he is trying to convince himself at every moment he has it under control, and that he is still a good person, and that he's still doing the right thing. And and he knows, and that that's not true. And then eventually in the book, you have to see him come to terms with, I am a monster, but I'm also a person who loves.
I can be both.
And then you see him realize he can't be both either. It's what made Breaking Bad so entertaining. Like Walter White as a character, very similar.
I did it for me.
I did it for me in the end. And that's what Sing was all about. And hence he had to get taken out. It's like, you're no longer doing this for Laconia. You're doing it for yourself. You are trying to save yourself, not the Empire. So you must be taken out.
And the way that you will be remembered. And having that moment where he's told what's going to happen to him and how it's for the benefit of the Empire, and how Sing still reaches out for something better, and he's told no.
We get the joy of Christian still being alive, by the way.
Yes!
Because
she's just still an old bitch and I love her.
Because outside of Medina being occupied and our characters being stuck under the Laconian occupation, Drummer managed to get out. You know, the head of the Union wasn't caught. And so she's over here dealing with, like, okay, how can we fight back? How can we get everything back? How can I get my husband? How can I get my husband back? How are we going to solve this situation? And one of the people that helps to give her advice is Christian, who's very, very old now, but she's still with us, and she was awesome. I mean, she's so cynical. She's the example of, like, look, I've seen everything come and go. I fought for Earth, and now it's in the shitter yet again. Like, I've fought for the universe, and now I'm seeing these guys come in and just kick it down. I'm like, and it's this has happened so much,
so viscerally. Like, I felt it so viscerally when she goes to Drummer and she's just like, I am like the only person possibly in the entire history, let alone like who is here and now, that understands what you're going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
And labeling that feeling.
I've been where you are.
It was beautiful. Like, I really enjoyed the writing of this book on that level of it's built up all of these layers of meaning, of history that, like, we have with the books as readers, but the characters with each other, and the way that they use language as a tool for that as well, but often in a way where it cuts to the heart of something. It's not, oh, we're going to express this in this very flowery way. It's just like, no, Avaslar is going to use a bunch of swear words and call you out on your bullshit.
I just appreciated so much that we get to have her be the mentor to someone that's a powerful figure, and that there is a relationship there, because Drummer feels conflicted about getting advice from someone who used to be in charge of the entity that was the dictator of her life back in the day. Earth was the villain. Earth was the oppressor. And now here is this figure that was the leader of Earth now giving me advice. Who was humbled and also like a figure that you wouldn't want to be. And now Drummer is in the position herself, and now here is this person saying, we have been in this position, both of us, and I understand it. I'm the only person who understands it, that can help you right now. I also like getting insight into Christian's mind of every 10 minutes, I think this is a good idea, and every 10 minutes, I think this is a bad idea. So you've caught me in the moment where I think it's a good idea.
I loved that. Like,
that's one of it's like how they didn't have that in the series is such a, like in the show is such a bummer because that's like such a good Christian
so good
line.
It's like it's one that they really could have repurposed.
I was just so enamored with having her back. But Drummer as a character was just so good. I liked her in the 5th book well enough, but she didn't get too much here. And we can't separate the character from the show because the character from the show is so good and so prevalent, and she ends where this one will eventually keep going, where she ends in the show being head of the Union, and now we get to see this version of Drummer having been there for a while and getting so annoyed with politics and so annoyed listening to like reports and scientists and blah, 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 blah. And I just thought that she was a very well-written character. And we said it before, but the lived-in, already pre-existing relationship just felt real and honest. I liked the banter she had with her husband, and it made it believable that we should be invested in them being broken up from the events of this occupation for the remainder of the book, and for what we can tell for the time being, the remainder of the series, because we don't know if they're going to get back together. We don't know if he's going to die. We don't know if she's going to, we don't know the fate of these characters.
Yeah, their fates aren't clear, and not in a way where it feels like, oh, what are the authors going to do? Oh my God, are they in danger? Are they going to go there? What's going to happen? It's just like, no, everything is in flux, and these people are trying to do their best, and they will both do what they think is right, even if it does come at a personal cost.
And I am a sucker for the tired leader who's then forced through a series of circumstances to become the great person. And it doesn't work out well for Drummer. Like, she still is fucked by the end of this, but I still liked her character journey of she's done with this. She's so over the bullshit of being the union rep and being in this hierarchy of power and just the machinery of it all.
Over it before the shit went down.
And then Holden just exacerbates it.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, this fucking moralistic dickhead is telling me what to do. Oh, now she's having to listen to Fayez and all these scientists talk about like their theories about the rings and the solar system and the previous entities of the protomolecule and the things that killed them. And she's just like,
I don't give a shit. I gotta deal with this other shit.
You know what she is? She's the type of fan who doesn't give a fuck about lore. You know what? Like, we've talked about this before. Like, you and I vary on how much with the sci-fi thing, especially with The Expanse, how invested you are in the lore, or how invested you are in the characters, or the themes, or the messages, or the tone. We have had, people talk to us over the years of us covering The Expanse now, give their opinions and feedback on, like, what invests them in this story. This universe. And Drummer here is similar to you, I think, in which it's like, what's this? We're talking about the fucking alien lore shit? I don't give a fuck about that. I just found that just so good. Like, it's vocalized in the text. Like, there are people who just go, I don't give a fuck about this part of The Expanse, guys.
I feel a little bit called out, and I don't know if I appreciate it, but I do acknowledge the truth of it.
Did you have any further things to say about Drummer as a character and how she is in the book?
I appreciate how she tries to use her belterness to her advantage, but also acknowledges that it is a weakness as well. Because she's like, okay, we usually do it this way. We've done it this way. And knowing that her people will not accept the subjugation. but also acknowledging that they've never had these tools before and they've never faced this kind of enemy.
And she is seeing some new form or a different form of oppression, which is the gilded cage. We are coming in and we are gentrifying you, and we're putting you in this gilded cage, and we are going to, as the Laconians, strip away meticulously over the course of generations your culture. And there's nothing you can do about it. Drummer, that chapter at the end, her final chapter, I found to be one of the most heartbreaking things that's happened in any of the Expanse. It was harrowing. It was truly upsetting. Just her being in house arrest and then her having to be this puppet for them and her having to wine and dine with the people that defeated her and is taking away her ability to be with her husband and her loved ones and to be a belter and proud and have to concede to them and hear their plans about how they're going to basically do a stolen generation. Like, that's the Laconians' plan, is to rehome the younger generations to Laconia and teach them the ways of the Laconians and breed and breed and breed and then, weed out the previous mentalities. And it's just sick. Like, it's just sickening and disgusting and gross. And just having Drummer, she's done all of this stuff. She did all of the sci-fi badass hero stuff and it didn't change anything.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. They pulled out all of the stops. It worked with Marco and it doesn't work here.
Everyone rested on their laurels of, well, we defeated Marco, and so everything's fine now. But it's not fine, and it wasn't good enough. Like, oh, you did that, but you didn't think about this other threat in the distance. Holden and Naomi retire, and they hand over the reins to Bobby, and her throughout this book is about contending with the fact of she is wanting to be her own person. She wants to be the captain. She wants to do the things she wants to do, and then all of this happens.
She's in the shadow, and she's in the shadow of Holden before that. But she's like, I am ready to step into this space. But then Holden steps back into it. So they're in this really awkward position of, she's like, well, I am still the captain of the Rocinante. And Holden being in that same space because he's not capable of stepping up to being more of like a major or an admiral level.
He's not interested.
He's not interested in stepping in above Bobby, but he doesn't understand that he can't step back into the same space as her either.
His time has come and gone, but because of the circumstances, they're forced to be together in this awkward power vacuum. And even when he's gone, Bobby can't get to enjoy being captain because they don't get to have their ship, and they don't get to be the unit that they once were, and they have to fight, and they have to convince these OPA people and these union people and these civilian people to to fight in the way that she believes in, and she can't do it because she's not Jim Holden.
She struggles to feel like she can do it right because she's not Holden, and she's like, well, Holden would do it this way, but I'm not fucking Holden.
He would have negotiated, but I just broke this guy's jaw. And he busted my tailbone. There's this great scene where she knows exactly how the plan has to go, but she knows that she can't say it because no one will follow it. So she convinces Holden to be the one to say it because...
And the fact that Holden hates that.
But no one remembers who the bass player is, but they all know who the singer of the band is. And Holden, you're the singer, I'm the bass player. For the time being, that's how it feels.
And that's fine, but we've got to do this, so it's got to come from you.
The only person who believes in her fully is Alex. Alex is also her friend, though. Like, that's something that makes her feel annoyed is how much does Alex respect her because of her being the captain and her being a good leader, and how much is it because they're friends? Amos is fighting against her. Clarissa is like an odd duck. Like, she still doesn't even know what to make of Clarissa and Amos's friendship. She's like confused
whatever
by
their
it.
relationship is, I don't fucking get it. But, you know, they'll be together till the end.
And Amos is fighting against her. He's questioning her. He's willing to, like, have a physical fight with her as well. But then by the end, they all find the new relationship to be accommodating, and like Bobby does find her groove. She does become the captain in the end. She does become the main character of this book in a lot of ways. Like, she's the very much one of the main primary focuses, and I liked Bobby. I liked Bobby a lot. I also like that she recognized that Amos has severe mental health problems that should be addressed.
And I won't ignore them.
Holden never even considered it. That's the difference, too. Like, it wasn't like Holden was just, oh, that's weird, I'm ignoring it. He never even considered to have these talks. Like, you're not okay. We need to talk about that. But also, she makes it very, very clear, I'm not doing this because I'm your friend. I'm doing this because I'm your commanding officer, and we need order here. We need things to run smoothly. And if you're fucking crazy, I need to know about that. Like, it's very pragmatic. It's very logical. And that's what Amos responds to. He doesn't want to be looked down upon or condescended to.
No, do not try and coddle that man.
No.
You will probably die.
Rachel, it's been decades and no one in this crew acknowledged like how mentally fucked up he is. Like, they do to themselves. Like, oh, that's weird.
Like, oh yeah, that's Amos's way of dealing with things, and that's not healthy, but you know, he gets the job done.
He gets the job done. And you know, they have to team up with like the Belters and the OPA, and they have the whole like plan to break in and do this and do that, and it's all very technical and it's all very thrilling. But what this book really understood and like really kept track on was, it's not about the space action, it's not about the warfare or the espionage, it's about these interpersonal dynamics.
Our people.
Like, yeah, it's cool that Amos is using his engineering skills while he's hacking away at this living ship, and like this person's doing this and this person's betraying them, and like, tables have been reversed. But what was really the heart of all of that was them as a team coming together, and them as people finding their roles again. Alex is confident as the pilot. Bobby is confident as the leader. Amos is using his engineering skills, and Clarissa Mao is having to use her engineering skills as well, and her familiarity with Medina and her familiarity with everything, because if anyone knows how to take down Medina, it's Clarissa Mao. She did it once. She can do it again.
I love that moment because I completely forgotten about that part of her. Because to me,
she helped save the day in the third book.
Yeah, but that's also so long ago. It's so deep in the history of the Expanse. But it's like, oh yeah, but that's not who she is now. So I kind of separated it out almost as a separate person.
She's changed so much, and yet so many things remain. She still has this awkward relationship about her dad. After everything that's gone on, she still thinks about him and how much he was like a loving, caring person, but also he was a monster. And that's it actually goes well with what we learn about Sing, of you could be this family man, you can care, you can love, but then if a man wants something because they will take it. And that was her father. That was Jules Pierre Mao. He had everything, but he could have more. Did he need more? Did it really help him? No, but he wanted it. So he took it. And that idea, that thought process is what really helps the Rocinante crew fight harder. Because it's okay, we know that at the end of the day, the Laconians aren't invulnerable. They are people. They're flawed. just because they have cool armor, which Bobby wants one.
Yeah,
She wants one of those armors. She's like,
I
I
like
want one of
that
those.
she talks about her old armor too.
Yeah,
It's weirdly sweet.
yeah, very personifying it and humanizing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the strength of, like, speaking of personification, is the Rocinante itself.
Mm.
Because you feel how much of a home it is for this crew and how much of a sacrifice it is for Naomi and Holden to retire. But they feel like they're going to get more if they leave it behind.
And then that's all taken away. The Rocinante crew loses. Humanity loses in this book to the Laconians. Holden is taken back to Laconia. They've lost Holden. They don't even have a plan to get him back if they are going to get him back. We have Drummer now having to live in this horrible gilded cage existence with the press that are now controlled. Everything's controlled. The universe, like the soul system, have surrendered. Some without fighting, really. Like there was this horrifying bit where it's like, oh, in Ceres Station, they welcomed the Laconians with open arms and smiles and handshakes, because what else can you do? What else can you do? And we lose Clarissa in this book. She's dying throughout it. They detail how the mods are killing her.
She's not gonna make it out alive. But it's like, can we get her back to the Rocinante so she can die there? She can die at home, so she can die with some peace. And instead, she goes down swinging.
She goes down fighting. She goes down using the things that are killing her in the first place, too. And we get... now, here's the thing. I don't know how they could have demonstrated this in the show. The use of her mods and then dying in the way that they detail it in the book. Because in the show, whenever they used her mods, it always looked goofy. It always looked stupid. Like, when she used it to kill that guy on Earth, and it became like an X-Files Cold Open sting. Like, it was... And this is one where it's like, I don't know how they would have brought it to the screen. Because it's so inside of her head that... I imagine they would have done something stylized, but it would have it wouldn't. I don't know if it would have hit the same, but
it would not be able to capture it in the same way. You would need to change some part of it, and that would feel like a betrayal of the character to change it as well.
And she dies, as she says, as a monster, but that means something.
She's not afraid.
She's not afraid anymore.
She's not afraid anymore. She's not afraid to die.
And she no longer has to justify herself to anyone. Because even after she says that, Naomi's like, what does that mean? And you hear Clarissa in her mind going, oh, I should explain. No, I don't need to explain that. I know what that means.
I don't have the energy to, and it matters that I know.
Because she still feels like a ghost in this crew, like she did in the last book. She's been there for decades. But because of who she is and what she did, it always did put a distance between her and them outside of Amos. Yeah, they're close, but there was still always that thing, and like she had to justify herself.
It was Amos and Clarissa.
Mm-hmm. And she always had to, like, have something that made it so she could be a part of the team in her mind. And at this end, it's like, I don't need to.
That justifies me still being.
I don't need to explain myself anymore. I know what I am. And she goes, and it's been a little while, it feels, since we've had such an emotional and heartfelt and devastating loss of a main character. Like, I think why I like the third book and this one so much is because of that too. Like, I still feel the loss of Bull after all of this time.
It was beautifully heart-wrenching. Because we see that she's still struggling with what she's done. But not in a way where it's holding her, but it weighs on her. Her past is still her past, even though she tries to disconnect from it and go, well, that was a different version of me. But she's a ghost of who she was and who she could have been because of what she did. And that never goes away.
Mm-hmm. And it just further, like, it just cements how on the back foot the Rocinante crew is. Like, one of them died doing all of this. And did she die for nothing? No, not on a character level, not on a personal level, but like, and they did disrupt those Laconians. It got them a bit wary, but it didn't win the day. Clarissa Mao's death wasn't the Deus Ex Machina that saves the day and all of that, but it still is a peak of the book. It
changed things, but it didn't fix anything.
And Amos's reaction kind of sells that too, of like, he's happy, but it's also like, well, it is what it is type deal. It's a classic Amos response. As we wrap up here, we have to talk about Duarte. He starts the book, he ends the book. He's just such a nice guy.
He just knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants from the world, and he's gonna get it, damn it. He's just gonna get it.
He's just gonna inject himself with
He's
proto
got that
molecule.
grind set, Ryan. He's got that grind set.
He is so funny. He's so funny. He's just such a nut job. I liked when he can now read people's minds because of the proto molecule. Yeah. And he visibly looks disturbing now. Like, that's something
and he forgets
about it
like,
too.
Oh yeah, they're staring at me because I'm a fucking weirdo.
Oh yeah, Holden's a new person. Yeah, I'm a freak.
He wasn't prepared for it. Whoopsie.
and he not only wants to conquer humanity, he wants to conquer the ring entity creatures that defeated the proto-molecule creators. And that's the thing that...
He's even better than them.
They think they're gods. Well, let's storm the gates of heaven. That's how we end the book. And Holden... Oh, man. I liked Holden's whole...
Oh, you're fucking insane.
Yeah, because he tries to reason with him first. Like, hey, here's all these things I know that we should be worried about because you seem like a logical person. And then Duarte's like, oh, yeah, I know all about that. I've read the reports. I understand. But I just don't care.
It's not going to stop me. It's not going to stop me. Because I'll win. Because I'm me.
Because I'm a god. I know better. Are we doing the exact same things that the previous race did? Well, guess what? We are better than them. The weaponry, the whatever tactic, the things that killed them didn't work on us. It just made our brains freeze for a little bit. It's fine. Rachel, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
What would you, where do you think this goes? Where do you think this book series is going? We have to get Holden back, right? Like, our crew has to, like, go to Laconia. Like, you have to go there, right?
Yeah, because they're on the world that Drummer wanted to decimate.
At the beginning,
the sovereign state colony.
Yeah. And they even are aware, the Rocinante crew, that they will betray us, these people, because we fucked them to begin with, so they will fuck us.
It's a very tentative truce. Not trust. No trust there.
And
I don't know, but I trust that it will be good. Like, even though my work colleague keeps on saying that the books get worse as they go on.
Really? I feel like this was so much better than the last two books.
I
thought it was.
I think that there's just a difference in preference between me and Fiona when it comes to sci-fi.
My sister has finished the books now, and my sister doesn't like this trilogy either because they don't like the Laconians that much. They felt like the Laconians weren't built up enough. which is funny because that's how we felt about the show. And maybe that is something too. Like, we have been maybe swayed because we saw how the show clumsily was working to this. And I feel like they've been much more smooth in these books. But I think, like, overall, I'm excited to see how we go because I like Duarte as a villainous force. I like the Laconian ideology. I like how effective they are, but also how obviously flawed they are as well. I don't know necessarily. I want to ask you this. Do you think we will ever meet aliens? Because they keep mentioning the law, like Elvie is a wanted person because she knows stuff. And it's like they keep tapping on this in some way of like aliens will be a factor in this. And if he wants to storm the gates of alien heaven, what does that look like? Because the ring entity creatures have been treated as these beings that are so beyond us that they aren't like people. They aren't people. They aren't things you can talk to. They're just like interdimensional wibbly wobbly beings. But like, what does that actually look like as it plays out in your mind?
I don't know. I'm not interested in guessing. I'm just interested in finding out.
I'm excited. I hope that however they kill or take down Duarte is satisfying. Like, that's all I need. I feel like he's going to be the villain for the trilogy. He's going to be the villain for the trilogy for sure. And I guess it's too early to say. We'll leave this for the next discussion because then we'll swing around. But like, I just want to know how these characters end up. Like, what's Holden going to be in the next book? Is he just going to be? He's going to be stuck on Laconia. Is he just going to be talking to like Cortazar and Duarte? I don't know, but we'll have to find out. The next book, Rachel, the 8th book of 9, and yes, we have the novellas. We're aware of the novellas. I think we'll swing around to the novellas.
Yes.
We always said that, but we want to get through the main books for the time being.
But now the churn is closer.
The churn is closer. I want to know about those dogs, those strange dogs. So the next book is the 8th book. It's Tiamat's Wrath. So that there is, I think, like a ancient Mesopotamian entity. I think it's like a multi-headed dragon. I think I'm not as well versed, but these books love playing with like ancient god things. Babylon's ashes and like all these like ancient cultural things in this way, and like that goes into the Laconian stuff as well, and how they're trying to do this whole Sparta type deal, and like how he wants to storm the gates of heaven and all of that. But until next time, Yumlings, thank you so much for being here and listening to us go through these books. We're committed to doing the Expanse. We're committed to going through as much of it as we can. Rachel, how about you tell people where they can find us and how they can get access to other things that we do?
They can find us on their social media of choice under yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. Email address is yumyumpod@gmail.com. If you want to get access to all of our extra content, you can purchase bundles on Patreon or just get a monthly subscription, which will also get you access to our private Discord server.
Rate, review, share the show around, and let us know your thoughts on the things that we have discussed here today. Everything is included in the description, and so it's there for your convenience. But until next time, we've been Ryan and Rachel of Yum Yum Podcast, and I hope that they bring back a really weird character to be a point of view next book. Like, who do you think they'll pull in? Because they always bring, like, someone. Like, Drummer came back for this, right? Who do you think will be, like, an odd pull to bring back? Because we've already done Havelock. We've already done Havelock. Like, there's got to be, like, some, like, random secondary character that they always do that with. Like, who?
Somebody comes back. I don't know, but I feel like you have somebody in mind.
No, I was just musing on this because I was looking through the roster of people we've had over these books. I'm like, who would I want to come back? Like, what's Prax up to is always what I'm asking myself deep down. What's Anna up to?
He got away with it, and Anna's on one of the colonies. I can't remember what one it is.
Yeah, so how's she doing?
That would be interesting because we've got that setup of her going out.
I have a prediction that Alex's son will come into these books as a character because they really emphasize his existence.
I'm wondering if Naomi's son,
Philip,
will come back.
Do you want him to?
No, not really.
Why?
Because he was good, but I feel like there would have to be a good enough reason to bring him back in. And I don't know what that would be.
Why do you say that?
Because he felt like he was at a really solid end point. Like, he's starting up an honest life.
The best you can.
He switched his name to his mother's.
So you think she'll never find out he's alive? Because she doesn't know he's alive.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Philip, I didn't even think about him because to me that's a perfect ending to that character. I think that's such a perfect ending. I don't need to see or hear about him anymore. Like, that's great. I think Alex's son, but also, and I know this is just me being me, and I'm not going to get on the high horse again about it, but I genuinely would love Monica to be a point of view character. Because she was in this book at the end. She's a part of, like,
she's still around.
The press. And I want to know her opinion on now being a part of controlled press. I would love to hear that. I would love to get her point of view. But we'll have to wait and see.
It was, without exception, the greatest failure of security Singh had ever heard of. And as governor of Medina Station, he had spent almost the whole time hiding in a public toilet.